I'm doing okay, man. I live in Arizona. You know how that goes. Huh? There's a lot of benefits, yeah. So, guys.
Chris Carbon, son of a source. Coach, when you're losing DJ Davidson and Tyler, what kind of things do you have to do in the spring to get everybody kind of aware of what they
Dwell less on what you lost. That first of all, it's you understand that, and you understand that the standard. You take that challenge of meeting that standard of matching that production, and you put it on the shoulders of the guys that are in the room. And the one thing that's been a benefit is those guys understood that assignment before we even got here. So since the bowl game, understanding that DJ may or may not play, Tyler did play, but the guys felt that void, and they felt they wanted to fill it. So guys already coming back have felt that, put it to work with Joe. Joe did an unbelievable job with our guys, but with my group especially. And I have not noticed the fall off. So that's been huge. Is in the first, what are we, five practices in, by now you should look around and say, man, we missed that guy. We always going to miss good players. But you just take that mantle, you put it on the young guys and see if they can match that standard. And so far they've done that.
Michelle Gardner, son of Arizona Republic. For those of the reporters that didn't get to hear your analogy of Garrett Stansberry, I think you need to fill everybody in on what you call Garrett Stansberry. Right,
so I got to keep it PG because but what it is when you see Garrett at first, and when you first see him, it's like a baby Doberman. You ever seen a baby Doberman? It's all, toothpick legs, big old paws, right? And they stand there gangly, kind of like a baby deer, legs all wobbly. And then all of a sudden, you're just used to that. Then one day you look up and that Doberman's kind of standing like this with a good base, and he's just looking at you, and you kind of go like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. Should I worry about this guy? Like, this guy's looking like a dude. And then after a year or so, he's the kind of dog that people run to the other side of the street when you're walking him. They see him walking down and they just walk across, I said, he's about at that stage right now where he's standing straight up, and you kind of go, wait a minute. What do we have here? You know what I mean? It's that guy, and hopefully someday he's going to be that dog that, walking down the street, people are like, I'm going to get out of the way. But it is, when you first saw him on those sleds, it was, God, is this guy ever going to be able to get into a stance, right? And you guys know what I'm talking about. And the kid has progressed so quickly, and now when you look at him, you got to go, hey, wait a minute, we might have something on our hands. He's still got steps to take, but trust me, he's definitely that baby Doberman.
Hi, Robert Hood, Rubino Devil's Digest. You have some interesting additions on the defensive line, but probably no more interesting than Shannon Foreman as a grad assistant coach. Can you just walk us through the process, what happened after the end of the season, what were the discussions between you and Shannon, and how did he become to be part of your staff, and what's your assessment early on in the spring?
Well, first of all, we're fortunate to have, I think anybody who's a Sun Devil should be fired up that Shannon Foreman's also a Sun Devil. That's the kind of people you want associated with your brand, with your university. But Shannon, we thought the Arizona game was his last game. He had surgery he needed to have on his ankle and his shoulder. And Shannon came back for the bowl game just to help us out. He saw that we were short inside. He came back. And one of the things we talked about is like, listen, Coach, if something's available, I'd like to look into being a graduate assistant. And so he had looked into it. And so because he did that, credit to Donnie, Donnie was like, hey, this kid, he did us a favor by coming back and playing for it. He played well in that bowl game and played nose tackle. So this is a guy who's played end, three technique, and nose tackle. He's played every position. So he provides a lot of value to the room. So it was his idea, but I'm glad it was. It's a slam dunk, and the kid is intelligent, smart. And what I love about him is he has a passion for this game and passion for his teammates. But he's not a buddy. He's not out there trying to be a buddy to the guys. He's really working on being a good coach. And it's a lot of fun for me to have somebody who already knows the scheme, knows the technique, and knows how to teach it to others, and who's so dedicated to being good at what he does. And so already I've seen him really show me a lot of signs that whatever level he wants to get into, because coaches are gluttonies for punishment, man. And the higher the level, the more the stress. And so I don't know what level he wants to be at, but wherever he wants to go, I know he's going to be a heck of a coach. And if I was a dad, I'd want Shannon Foreman coaching my kid at any level.
Donnie Drew and AllSunDevils.com. What's it going to mean for you guys to get Jermaine Looney back to what many feel like is a strength for the Sun Devils defense moving forward?
I mean, I don't think you can put it into words, dude. I mean, that's the thing is, you get a talent like Jermaine Looney back, it's huge. Now, the thing is, I think it's unrealistic for us just to assume that he can just put his feet back on the ground and keep playing at the level since the last time you watched him play. It's been a long time between now and then. So we've got to get him back up to speed. And so, like all things, good coaches and good coaching staffs make sure that, you know, we do the right things to put him in position to get his feet under him and develop. But it's huge because it's, with Jermaine, it's not all just physical. You don't just line him up and let him go. There's a lot of things he brings to the table mentally and emotionally that make your room better. And so that's an added incentive as well. I can go to Jermaine, and if I don't like the tempo of the room, there's guys like Mike Watus and Jermaine and TJ Pesafez getting there. And I say, hey, man, we need to pick this up. Or, hey, we need this or we need that. And it gets done. And Jermaine definitely has that. He's a man of few words, but when he speaks, the guys listen. And he's a very intelligent football player. So he's a guy that comes up with, hey, I'm seeing this. What about this? I think it's just more of those guys you have in the room, the better we are. And that's part of what makes Jermaine a really good player.
Doug Howler, The Athletic. Robby looks like he needs a lot of instruction at this point. Where is he just in his development up to this point? Because he still should be in high school, I guess.
Well, yeah, but he should be getting ready for his prom here in a couple weeks. You know what I mean? So let me tell you something about Robby, okay? That dude's one of the strongest young men I've ever been around. I mean, when that dude, I slapped him on the shoulder the other day, kind of gave him an attaboy. And I mean, I almost broke my finger slapping him on the shoulder. This dude is made of granite up top, right? He's got good feet. The only thing that slows him down is the reaction time. Now, I'm going to tell you like this. Tell me he doesn't look a lot like Garrett Stanley did last fall. It's the same thing. Is these guys come from a level, they come out here and they should be, you know, they're coming up. The last thing they saw in front of them was a high school kid. They were probably bigger, stronger, faster than a guy. That changes like that. So Robby's going to be just fine. And Robby is that baby Doberman right now. And I'm telling you, his ceiling is so high. He's such a good kid, and he's naturally tough. You know, he was a state champion in wrestling. He's just a good kid, and the guys love him. He's funny as heck. If you're ever around him, he doesn't talk much. But the guys love him, and they think he's going to be really – I do too. I think he's got a bright future. The thing is you're right. He's just so young, and it's so happening so fast. But let's let the thing naturally progress. Let's let him get some weight on his quads and his hams where he can really sit in his stance and be comfortable. Obviously, I'm the first coach to really ask him to be in a coordinated, balanced stance because it's different. At high school level, it's about getting off the ball, but you can be off balance a little bit and be too heavy and be fine. At this level, and definitely at the next level, there has to be balance in your feet. Guys struggle with that, especially guys who – shoot, Nesta's going to struggle it when he starts doing it. You know, everybody does. But the kid is great. And I happen to think we got another great one right there, another really good find that was just under-recruited, kind of fell under the radar, but we were able to identify the right qualities. And the best part, with all those kids that we brought in with that makeup, they're all high-character kids. It's the same thing with Robby. He's going to be just fine. You're going to love him on game day because he'll run through a wall, won't think twice of it. Not a lot of ego, a lot of potential. Good stuff there.
Quick interruption. Stanley Lambert's in the hall.
And just a general question. You were a running back in high school, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And a linebacker in college?
Yes.
What is it about the D-line? I mean, you coach it with such passion. What do you like about coaching the D-line?
Well, it's kind of like, so we talk about building confidence in these guys, right? And in general, we all got a better group, and there's a culture that's been established here year 3. I'm going to tell you exactly why I have such a passion of it. I believe in my heart I learned from the very best. Andre Patterson, Sun Devil fans know about him because I talk about him all the time. But you guys have never been in a room with this guy. Him and the coaches that have brought me up as a D-line coach, and the coaches that I've talked to, not just Dre, but all of them, have helped me believe that what I teach is the best in the world. And when you want confidence, and this is something I teach my players, it's not about me looking in the mirror and giving myself affirmations. It's not about a pep talk. The only thing that builds true confidence in somebody is mastery. And that's what I try to teach my guys. You want to be confident on Saturdays, be a master of your technique. And I just feel like I just came up under the best, and I'm a master of what I do There's always room for growth. I don't think I'm the best in the world. That's not what I'm saying. I just have confidence in what I do. And so when I speak it, I'm not speaking about something I've learned in a book. I went through the ups and downs with Dre. We've been through it for such a long time, and I learned through his experiences, my experiences, Marvin's experiences, and I'm so confident in it. I'm preaching the gospel. This is something I believe. And I think it's different when you talk about something that, hey, this might work. When you talk about something that's like, man, I'm telling you, please, buy in, all in, and if you do. So that's why, again, you know, maybe it's my, you know, Rodriguez, my grandma, like where I come from, us Hispanics, we're passionate people, you know what I mean? City of El Paso, there's a lot of passionate, don't marry a girl from El Paso, you want a passionate girl, okay? Because that's just how we roll. But no, I believe in it, man. I believe in what I've been taught. I believe in, and I've seen guys make it. I've seen guys make it to the top doing this stuff. So you can't tell me otherwise that this ain't the best in the world. And I want the guys to have that knowledge and do what I ask them to do. So.
Ethan Ryder, Sun Devil Source, just talking about kind of helping those guys out and being passionate. You've had a couple one-on-one work with both Joe Moore and Harrison. What do you see from those one-on-one works, and why do you do them that kind of helps them in that way?
That was one of the things that I love doing in the NFL. Is like we'd go about half an hour to 45 minutes early, and I was out there with all these young guys that we helped, and that's when you get the best work because you not only need to talk to your players, you got to listen to them. And that's the time when they're really the most candid on a one-on-one basis, and they tell you, hey, man, this is confusing to me, or why is this, or what's that? And you get to break through. That's where the most breakthroughs happen. And that's why I'm a big believer in making yourself available to them, allowing them to approach you, and just saying, hey, guys, I'm out here, so let's work some stuff. And credit to those guys that that's the way it's worked. I don't have to go chase them down. I'm out there. I'm made available. They come to me, and that's usually where they feel the most comfortable being honest with you. This is hard for me. Coach, can we work on this? Coach, what should I be looking at here? And the best part is when you're working one-on-one with somebody, you learn too. You learn if you're teaching the wrong stuff, that what's difficult. It's like, hey, man, I'm asking him to do this. I'm kind of asking him to be Superman when I tell him this. When you get up close and personal, and then you get to see where their eyes are. You get to see where their hands are. And, man, when you break it down to that minutia and you can fix those little things, that's where you have breakthroughs. And so that time to me is I think it's some of the best time is that one-on-one time.
Can you talk about Nesta? And obviously he's not out there practicing yet, but it seems like he's got the potential to kind of step in for DJ and fill that void.
Well, you know, first of all, you know, Nesta has been a breath of fresh air because he came in with just a great attitude. You know, it's important that some of these guys, like Nesta's really cool because he was recruited by some big-time programs, okay? Now, we all know the nature of recruiting now. Big-time programs equals some stuff that we can't provide, right? He came here for the right reasons. And it's kind of funny. He was talking to me about, we had a film session. He did it with every school that he wanted to go to and said every school told him how good he was and how good he'd be in that defense. And when he ran into us, I was the only knucklehead who was telling him what he wasn't. And so I was telling him, hey, man, you're good, but you got to do this. Look at your inside hand. Look at your angle. And I can tell this is pretty impressive you stayed up here because look at your angle, look at your inside hand, and I'm telling him all the things that we teach. And he was blown away. And he said, you know, I felt that I was missing something. I could feel that these things were happening, but nobody told me why. And we were the first ones to tell him why. And that's the nature of how we coach here. I don't say anything to demean people, but also I don't want to falsely get my guys pumped up if they're doing something wrong. Because on Saturday, ain't nobody there to tell them a lie. It'll be all truths, okay? Because the guy in front of you is going to tell you the truth, and he's going to expose your weaknesses. So my job is to tell you about those things. And so I was just coaching. I was coaching the way I always coach. And to his credit, he came here for that. He came here because he knew that our coaching, our connections was the NFL style, and we were going to be honest with him. And also, he liked what we were teaching. So that's the way he's been. He asks great questions. He's honest with himself. Very humble for a guy who's been the number one whatever he was when he came out. But he also gives great perspective because he did it differently at Miami with different coaches. He's been around guys who are in the NFL now. And so he's mature, but there's a humility to him that I really like. But he's very driven, and it's just a professional attitude. I think the more of those guys you have in the room, the better it is. But potential, I don't want to get caught up in that he has the potential to be DJ. I want him to be Nesta. And, you know, DJ, Same thing with DJ. I didn't want DJ to be, when I showed him Linval Joseph clips, I don't want him to be Linval. I want you to be DJ. And so with Nesta, he provides some stuff that DJ couldn't do. There's some stuff that DJ does that Nesta can't do. So it's about tailoring that suit. But I going back to your question, love everything he does. I expect that production, that void, to be matched. I expect us to be good with TJ, with Nesta, and hopefully we can exceed it, because both those guys, I hope, can be at that level. We can exceed that type of production.
Coach, with what you guys have coming back, that guys who've worked with you now, Joe Moore, Garrett, BJ, do you think that your depth could be improved this year, and will you be able to keep guys fresher, perhaps, as part of that?
Yeah, 100%. And so we say about depth, that's numbers, right? And so I think the depth is about the same that I felt last year when we ran into it. I felt the depth was good.
The talent of your depth.
The quality of the depth is better, absolutely. And I think the something happened. That's why the bowl practices are so valuable. Something happened to the bottom of the room. That cream started rising to the top. So everything is starting to get better. And it's not just what we do on the field. It's not just rushing the pass or making plays. No, I mean, there's been a couple of times where I've wanted to step out and correct Robby, and there's 5 dudes that beat me to the punch. So it's culture. The culture has gotten better, and so the quality of the depth is better. I trust more guys out there. I'm seeing those guys make adjustments out in the field that I had hoped they'd make when they were older. And so they've taken a pretty significant step in the right direction, especially Joe Moore, especially Garrett, especially Stanley, especially Omar, and especially TJ. Those guys have been a breath of fresh air. And Coop and Matus are still ascending. And so I just feel bad for like Dylan, who's new, Robby, who's new, because they feel, oh my God, I'm so far behind. That's a blessing to me, because it tells me, guys, trust me, it wasn't like that last year like that. The entire level of the room has risen up because those guys are better. Numbers-wise, it'll never be. After what happened to me last year, it'll never be deep enough. Anytime coach walks in, do you need another D lineman? The answer will be yes. I am never saying no to that again after what happened last year, because I said the words. I said, man, we got so much depth to AP, and the next day we started losing dudes left and right for a number of reasons. Anything that could happen did happen. But to answer your question, man, the quality's better. The kids, to their credit, I don't want to stand here and act like I did. I kept coaching, and those guys made it happen. Great assistants that I've had over the years, and that year 3, it's a culture now, and that's a beautiful thing. I've had 3 coordinators, and all 3 of them have allowed me to continue to push that, and that's why the continuity has happened. Those guys, credit to them, to allow these kids to keep building it, because now it's at a level, the culture, where I think we have a chance to keep it going if we keep good players coming in.
So, Robert, when you talk about the quality of depth, does that maybe, I'm not going to say open your eyes, it's probably not the right word, but maybe wanting to be more versatile, maybe try different approaches that you were not able to try in years past just because of the lack of quality depth?
That's a good point. I mean, I'll see how this thing evolves, Ho, to be honest with you. We're always trying to do that. That's what this time of the year is for, is if you stay in the same place, like what we try to teach our players, you're climbing the mountain or you're sliding down the mountain. There is no in between. So as a coach, you got to have the same mentality. So we're trying to always innovate and put them in new, and there's nuance to it. But I don't want to wholesale do crazy stuff, because then everybody has to do new stuff, and we're not doing what makes us good. And this is a system, so you want to continue to add nuance to it, but wholesale stuff, that's, I think, for future. But yes, it opens the door for those things. But I think you got to stay consistent to your vision and consistent to your message. But we've already added a couple wrinkles right now with this group, so it does open that door for future things as we go along.
Matt Venezia, Cronkite Sports. Coach, you've talked a lot about the new faces on your D-line, but when you look at the defensive backs, Jack Jones, Chase Lucas, guys that aren't here anymore, is there more of an emphasis for your vets that are now returning to create pressure and get back there quicker, knowing that you might have some new faces behind those guys in the secondary?
No, I don't think that's the right way for me to go, because I get what you're saying, but just like we got to replace DJ and Tyler, we got to replace those guys too. And everybody's got a job to do. The timing of football doesn't change as much. You're right; those things factor in. We got to trust those guys. We got to do our jobs. I think when you add on that stuff, we got them worrying about stuff that they don't control. They control their matchup and beating the guy in front of them. And to be honest with you, I already got them trying to get there as fast as they can. So it don't matter if I got Chase Lucas and Jack back there covering. That's an added bonus, a cherry on top. But they got to still rush like somebody's back there doesn't know what they're doing. They got to get there fast as possible. And but, you know, again, in all those things, the more we go up and down with the change, the more we sit there and be like, oh, God, Chase isn't here, Jack's not here. That stuff, it sips down to the bottom. So we have to just trust in our coaching. And again, we got guys in those positions ready to rise to the top. Guys that really worked hard, because the guys you just mentioned did not play in the bowl game. And the second half of our bowl game, those kids played their butts off. And sometimes you don't know their names. You know what I mean? It's guys don't know their names. That's okay. It's the next generation. They feel that void. They've been waiting for that opportunity. And so we got to preach that as coaches at all levels. And me and as a D-line coach, I got to do the same. Hey, don't worry about them. They'll be fine. And then occasionally they're going to give up a play, right? But I still got to get us lined up and play like we got to get to that quarterback as soon as possible.
Sierra Santos, Fox 10. I know you're not that far into spring ball, right? But what's something that you've learned about your group in particular that you didn't know before?
You know, it's a good question, because you want as a coach to say, I know everything about these guys, but here's what I didn't know about these guys, is that these guys have taken a lot more ownership in this than I gave them credit for. Their ability to go out there and see the standard before I can, to correct things before I did, is at a level higher than I thought it'd be right now. And so that's promising going forward. They've already shown me that there's growth potential in there, because these guys are further ahead than I assumed that they would be. And so right now it's encouraging, but definitely like hearing guys like Cooper step up and critique other guys and say that's not good enough. Guys that are watching film away from here and giving me questions. I'm getting text messages left and right. You know, that's the stuff right there. It's got me energized. And I'll be honest with you, I expected to have fun. I love coaching. So I expected to have fun. I'm having more fun right now through 5. Like you said, it's early. You're right. Things can change. I don't want to jinx it. However, through 5 practices, I don't know how many practices we got my first year here because we got COVID, but I feel the same energy. And I feel the same amount of fun that I'm having with these guys that I did that first year. So I'm pretty excited and jazzed up about that right now. 7. All right.
Coach, so talking about kind of what you've talked about already so far in terms of you're getting more of a culture with a couple more years under their belts and just the growth that you've talked about and leadership they've taken, what are your current expectations for the group?
The expectations, they stay the same, is that, you know, we play to a winning level each and every game. And that, see, it's hard for me to say us be one of the best D-lines XYZ, because that's in somebody else's opinion. There was some list that came out this week about the best D-lines in the country, and we weren't in the top 50. Well, you know, that guy don't know what he's talking about. So I'm not going to be offended, because some of the groups, we saw some of the dudes on film, and we're like, guys, we know we're better than that D-line. So you can't get caught up in who's considered the best. But I think that having a reputation where we're one of the more respected defensive lines, but more than that, I want to be the most respected position group on this football team and in this program. And one of the things that I'm very proud of is when Marvin blessed me to be here and trusted me to take this job, the defensive line was not even in the running. And those kids have put in that work to get there. That's what it's all about. And that's not just me. That's Marcus Lewis, that's Stephen Beard, that's, you know, we got Michael Fletcher in there now, Anthony Garnett, the guys that helped me and those players. But that's what I want. I want that to be the standard, that when we walk out and people say, who's the best position group on this team? Who's the guys we can depend on to go out there, win, lose, or draw, and play winning football? That's got to be us. And it's got to be us before we get off the bus. And when you ask the quarterback, hey, man, who are the guys you can depend on? The quarterback needs to say, that defensive line's going to show up. So that's the standard, and that's the thing that's hard to get, and that's the thing that we're going to fight for. So we just need everybody to be better, the best version of themselves. I need to be the best version of myself and do whatever we can do for this defense and for this football team. But if our reputation isn't that within these walls, then we got a lot of work to do. It's got to be a good one. Let's go, big dog.
Tyler Rolfs, Cronkite News. Coach, you've talked about establishing a culture if you're a third year here, and how you have different coordinators each year. What kind of like challenges or hiccups does that throw to you, or does it just give you more fuel to the fire?
Well, it's actually yes of both. You know, there's a lot of hiccups because every coordinator has his own flow. Every coordinator has his, so there's certain things that you're like, hey, I'll let that go. Yeah, that you can have that. And there's certain things that you put your feet in the ground and say, no, I want this, and it's the way it's going to be. So as a position coach, you got to tailor it, and you got to have the same things and really communicate with your coordinator. I've been blessed. The 3 coordinators that I've been with, and Donnie's been awesome, is they communicate really well. And so they're very clear what they want. They're clear when, you know, and they don't change things up on you too much. And everybody's different. But you said it right. There's tons of hiccups. And there's tons of times when, man, I thought it was this, but it was this. And I thought we said this, but I thought we said, and we have to meet in the middle and communicate. But the biggest thing through all of it is it does motivate you to not stay in the same place. And so I went over it with Donnie over my playing career, GA, and coaching career. I've had like 18 coordinators in my, just since I played at UTEP. I think I had 4 or 5 coordinators at UTEP. I had a coordinator as a GA. I had a bunch of coordinators as a pro. And since I've been working as a position coach, the longest I've had a coordinator in place was my years in Minnesota. It all stayed the same. The staff stayed exactly the same, which is probably not a good thing. But since I've been here, I've played for 3 different I've coached for 3 different coordinators, and each time it motivates you and fires you up to prove to that coordinator, hey, you can depend on me and my group, and we're going to do a good job for you. And that's what you want in the fire when the bullets start flying in the game. It's intense, and you want them to just be able to look over you and nod and know that you're going to do your job. So it adds that fire. Even through all those hiccups, you're motivated to do that, and you put that onto the players too, because we're always motivated to put them in the position to succeed, and that's added incentive to do that. Is hey, let's show him he can depend on us, and so it's a little bit of both. We good?
Appreciate you, man. Thanks, Robert.
Thanks, guys. We'll take one of these Coke Zeros one of these days, homeboy.